All right, guys, very, very exciting news. We have a special celebrity guest on the show. This is one of the most influential dog trainers of our time, Gottfried Dildei. Hi, Gottfried.
Hi, how are you?
All right, Gottfried, so tell us a little bit about, for the people that don't know you, tell us about how you got started with the dog training.
Oh, I started already when I was 12 years old and wanted to deal with dogs and have dogs, and it was really difficult at the time because my parents was total against it.
That's when you lived in Germany?
Fight.
You lived in Germany then?
Hmm?
You lived in Germany then?
Yes, I lived in Germany, and yeah, I did have a club fairly close, could walk there, or drive with a bicycle there, and watch always. And then I got my first own dog against the will of my parents, but they gave in eventually. And yeah, it was really interesting, really worked hard on this, did the opposite what everybody else did, and was successful with. And back then this was all military training, and wasn't always pretty.
And I know you went a lot of competitions over there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I won a lot of competition, but this was not really my main drive. I always did have more fun to train with everybody else and help with everybody else. With my own dogs, after a little while, if he got some standard, I got some boring, and I wasn't so much interested anymore. When we went to competition, to a Bundesliga, so I took always 3, 4 other people with me, and this was my pride and joy to do this. Was much more challenging and much more interesting. And in training and everything. In the development of training, I was pretty much with everything first. In the 70s, I got this tracking concept done, the footstep tracking with the 90 degrees turn and all the work on side effects, and this was my first big deal. And later on, development in obedience, using the play drive the play drive to first to creating the play drive and then work with the play drive. But in a matter of this, I don't need to restrain the dog later on, correct the dog, stress the dog to get the positions, and then I included right away the position with it in this whole work. And this was a really fun thing to do, and I enjoyed showing this obedience because the spectators at the Deutsche Meisterschaft, gave me a standing ovation. Yeah? This was one of the first few very, very nice obediences in the early 80s. And I got the same applause what other people's got, maybe through protection. And this was really, really fun to show.
All right, and I know tell us about your book. I know a lot of people might not know, Gottfried, because you've been off the radar a little bit. So
yeah, I started in the 90s. Early 90s, start writing the obedience book. The name is Obedience in Drive, written by Sheila Booth. She was my writer, and I said it came out really nicely. And the funny thing is, it was a little bit oriented towards Schutz and obedience, but I think much more AKC people about it, and trained by it and took the concept and got really successful with. I mean, the build-up in obedience in AKC got the big rise. Before you saw all the dead dogs and blood dogs, and now you're seeing really shining obedience. And that's a really enjoyment to me. There was some success to see for the betterment of training, and the dogs having much more fun now to do something with the handler. I mean, the feeding concept it's old, but us or rewarding the food. But does the dog truly work for food reward? Everybody saw wouldn't be possible, but it's always this conditioning thing what's there important, and I think they got it now. And mainly the involving the food in obedience, I started out more when I came to Canada or to States, because we didn't have at the time not enough dogs who did have the high drive to overplay not a high play drive to create something. Especially our handlers was too unexperienced to create something with. And when we started more and more pushing the food drive, and I saw the advantage, the learning advantage with food versus the play. Because in the play, you have to arouse dog, but you have to correct him to control him. With food drive, you can right away from the beginning do a controlled obedience, and can be really fun. And for the competition people, you deal with a lot with muscle memory, train the exercises right from the beginning, right, and you don't have to fix it or correct it.
I know you've coached a lot of people too, Gottfried, that have won. Tell us about some of your favorites.
Yeah, that's favorite things. I mean, first was Jackie Reinhardt, her dog Nico. She won the championship here, and then we went to Europe, and we won the Deutsche Meisterschaft. The first lady ever, first American who winning the Deutsche Meisterschaft. This was quite thing, this little old lady winning there. And the following year she was qualified anyway, and she won again. Well, now the Germans called me traitor. It wasn't so funny anymore. The first time was funny. So, and I really got bad when I went third time over with Jackie or Mary Lou with a Malinois, and we won again. And Jackie did, Mary Lou did first, and Jackie got fourth this time. She made the handler mistake, but Mary Lou with ego, that was something really outstanding. Probably that was the start of the Malinois in Schutzhund, because everybody loved it, and everybody saw or want to do the same thing, and saw the Malinois would be the right dog, but that's can be questionable. Or the right dog maybe, yeah, but he's the better dog. Not. The problem is that every dog has his own characteristic from the breed, but also the own characteristic in himself. And a good trainer, when he can get to it, to the right characteristic of the dog, and can address the dog, he will be always successful. Das ist Malinois oder German Shepherd oder other breeds.
All right, and so I know you're still doing seminars, Gottfried. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I do little workshops. I have 3 small groups where we meet together once a month. Memphis and New Hampshire, and have the 3 or 4 days workshop. Oh, and that's a lot of fun because they're really dedicated peoples who really love the dogs, and people love the training, my training concept, and that's why they're training with me, because quite few people are not happy with the club training because it's too much. Still, would I again much more compulsion than needed. I mean, in the 90s, with my concept, all the clubs, the training came up. It was a lot more fun, and I was really proud about it. But then some other trainers coming from Europe until something else, and that's it. And now the obedience has dropped quite a little bit again, and it needs to be picked up.
Well, and I know that you're working on an ebook about tracking, so tell us a little bit about that. Give us a little overview of your tracking concept. I know you've really had some
I thought
revolutionary...
about the ebook, maybe too, because it's a big demand, and in tracking there's not much out there what makes sense. And actually the German language or Europe, they are quite hard about it. They hungry for a tracking book.
And we can maybe look for that right after the first of the year?
Oh no, that takes at least a couple of years.
All right, Gottfried, we had a question from one of our viewers, Edmund, in the UK, and he wanted to know, he does Schutzen over there, and you know it's not real well developed over there, but
right.
Maybe you need to go over there, but he wanted to know, what do you look for in a good shepherd to do Schutzen with? I mean, what do you look for?
I look for a lot of drive and a lot of energy and working body. But they all are always here looking for the perfect dog, and it's not existing. Some dogs are easier, some dogs are more difficult. It's the trainer who makes the dog. Yeah? Yes, you need a good, strong breeding if you can, but in every breeding there's just so many puppies who need a little more. But there are much more good dogs out there than you see. We're lacking on the experience and the effort from the trainer to build something. Oh, that's not, needs a lot of dedication, needs a lot of self-control, and nothing goes fast. And there needs to have time for a strong foundation. And on the foundation, then you can build on and can reverse to it as needed if something goes wrong. But I pay much more attention, a lot more attention to the trainer than to the dog. If the trainer does the right thing, the dog will happily follow.
All right, we had another question from one of our viewers in Australia, Daniel. He wanted to know, what is the biggest mistake that the handlers make that you see?
When the dog does a mistake, correction, right away correction. And what's the problem is with the dog doesn't want to do mistakes, period. He wants to do it right and wants to get satisfaction out of this. This satisfaction is the praise or the food or the play. But a lot of handlers don't understand this. With a more intensive dog, he's more capable to do mistakes because his attention is high. So if the verbal signal doesn't go together with a physical signal, who everybody gives, then come mistakes. So it has nothing to do that the dog is disobedience, and then just mistake, who needs to be addressed most of the time by the handler, and then the dog. Yeah, I see it always again, especially like something like the sit exercise. If the handler movement is not correct, yeah, then all of a sudden you have a stand. Und das needs to be, the handlers, the trainers needs to be addressed more and more and more to be successful on the dog. But then it's still the same thing. That's the young dogs. The 2 young dogs already get killed in a process. Start to raise them, to let them grow up and things like that. I'm against this too early training. Too early training, definitely.
All right, Gottfried, this was an awesome interview, and we're going to speed up the tracking ebook so we can get it out before a couple years, and we're going to get you back on the show. And next time you're over at Bob's working the dogs, I'm going to come over there and tape it. And love you, Gottfried. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.